most of the world considers themselves religious or spiritual. On the whole, this is a beautiful, wonderful thing. However, great pain can emerge when spiritual religious leaders, communities, belief systems, or practices end up doing great harm. And there are many people who experience this. Ketamine, though, has some really interesting properties that can be very helpful for this particular set of symptoms. Let's explore. Spiritual and religious trauma can come from religions, religious institutions, religious leaders, cults, gurus, spiritual teachers and spiritual communities, fundamentalist religions, from so many different places. And if any of these things causes lasting harm, then this is considered spiritual or religious trauma. It's not a specific diagnostic term from the psychological medical community, but it is a common thing that seems to be experienced very commonly. And I've linked an article below describing it if you want to look into it more fully. But why are we here today? Well, to learn about how ketamine, and specifically ketamine therapy, that is ketamine with a psychotherapist, can be particularly helpful with this set of symptoms and this struggle. Now, I need to caveat this video with an understanding that so far MDMA-assisted therapy seems to be the best treatment for trauma that we have yet discovered, but it's still going through regulatory processes, so it's not yet available. However, ketamine is available, and ketamine has some properties that are similar to MDMA. Not the same, not as effective necessarily, but still very effective for specifically trauma. And that's the first way that it can be helpful. I'll be doing a future video about MDMA and trauma and how that specifically works and just some of the amazing research that's happening in that area. But for now, we're going to kind of oversimplify trauma and the treatment of trauma, and specifically how ketamine can be helpful and ketamine therapy can be helpful. And the first way is using memory reconsolidation. And what that means is that as you prepare for the ketamine session with your therapist, you might be activating memories of trauma, you might be speaking about previous traumas, or they could just emerge spontaneously on the ketamine. And with those memories, if there's trauma involved, there's fear, there's pain, there's anger, there's all these difficult and intense emotions that are connected to it that make it difficult to deal with these memories and these experiences when they come up in your daily life. And so ketamine takes these experiences and almost gives you a new perspective on them that is more at ease, has more of a sense of safety and well-being and less pain, less intensity, less hurt. And so then when you remember these things in the future, those memories have been imprinted in a new way that is less painful. And so that's the first way that ketamine is helpful with trauma. Now, the second way that ketamine psychotherapy can be helpful is because part of trauma is sort of losing a sense of safety in the world, in relationships, in people, in one's own mind and body and heart, that one was betrayed by different circumstances and you can no longer have a sense of like there's somewhere safe in the world. And ketamine helps reestablish this. As you connect to an observer self or a mystical experience or a subtle or intense, as you connect with the therapist in this open, altered space and you get a sense of well-being, you can reestablish that, oh my goodness, I'm okay. The world is okay. And this is incredibly healing for trauma and incredibly supportive for climbing your way out of periods of despair, out of feeling like everything is falling apart. And so this is a profound sense of support that you can get from ketamine therapy. And the interesting thing about this safety is that it's not based in a denial of the dangers of the world. There's an integration where there's an understanding that there are dangers in the world, but there's a greater learning about how we get caught and how different circumstances and people and lack of understanding can sometimes put blinders on us so that then we fall into more painful circumstances or traumatic circumstances. And so part of healing from trauma is learning and growing so that you now have the capacity to have a greater chance of avoiding, and if not avoiding, recover from difficult things when they happen. And so there's a greater discernment, there's a greater responsibility for oneself, there's a greater sense of inner strength and capacity and ability to lean back on supports. And so this is a really important part of what ketamine offers. And as you digest trauma, as you learn how to be fully empowered and discerning in yourself and learn from it all, you create a greater context for the world, which becomes more safe. Then the world is more safe because you know how to navigate the world in a better way. The next way that is a common injury from spiritual and religious trauma is a betrayal from authority and having given up one's own authority over one's own actions and giving them to someone else and then being harmed by that. And so part of spiritual and religious trauma can be a sort of indoctrination or even a brainwashing where someone becomes lost in some other set of beliefs which it turns out were not so trustworthy. And part of what ketamine does is not only does it deconstruct these things, it empowers the individual to trust their own experience, to realize that, whoa, like I can actually figure out what's true and what's not. And out of that empowerment, there's a greater discernment and also pulling away from different structures that feel controlling and a sense of inner authority that I'm going to find my way in this world and I'm able to, and I can trust my own sense of things and my own engaging with what is true. And so this is an important empowerment that ketamine helps support as people are healing from this type of trauma. Another way to put this is, I can trust myself. I'm not going to just blindly take in what other people tell me. I'm going to really sit with it and think about it and see if it feels and seems right to me. So when folks are emerging out of a religion or a spiritual tradition and they've been traumatized by it, there's often a stage of atheism that comes up. And one of the incredible supports of this framework is that it keeps you safe from being brainwashed by any other religious or spiritual doctrine that's trying to get at you or trying to control you. It's an incredible protector. Oh, religion is bullshit. There's no spiritual truth. This is all mind games attempting to control people. And so there's then a boundary there that you're not going to get confused by insanity coming your way. And so that's important. And for many people, that feels really true and right, and that's wonderful, and that can only be supported. As long as the atheist worldview feels right to you, then wonderful, continue with that. There are some people who miss some aspects of religion and spirituality that felt like it was alive and resonated for them, and so the atheist step may not be complete for them. And if that is the case, ketamine can help you with the next step. And often people report feeling a sense of love, of connection, of a sense of well-being in the world when they're connected to something greater than themselves, whether it's a creator, a no self, a sense of the infinite, whatever it is. And so how do you reconnect to that without all the garbage and corruption that can come with some spiritual and religious traditions? Well, ketamine helps, again, because like we were just talking about, it helps you trust your own experience. And not only that, it can give you a mystical experience in time. And then you get to experience for yourself what feels to be true spiritually. And then from that place, it becomes easier to discern and navigate what is someone trying to control me with and what is something that's genuinely beautiful and true and that's connecting me to something greater. Again, having your own experience increases your own personal discernment. And this is because you're trusting your internal experience and learning over anything external. If something external is helpful and it resonates, great. If not, then you're throwing it away. You don't have to take in a religion whole. You can take in the pieces that work for you and throw out the rest. And similarly, on the emotional realm, there's a beginning discernment of the difference between religions or religious instructions based in fear and those based in love. And there's an understanding that the spiritual is connected to love, and anything that's based in fear or control is genuinely manipulative and actually not supporting your highest well-being. And so as you get these sort of guideposts, ketamine empowers you to find your way back to a connection to that which is greater than yourself without some of the pieces that were controlling, damaging, and hurtful. There's a great book about all of this that I'm going to link in the description below as well if you're dealing with spiritual or religious trauma. In closing, ketamine therapy has some amazing benefits that can help you with spiritual and religious trauma. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Together, we have so much more knowledge. Share your wisdom with the community and comment. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you want more psychedelic therapy content. And may your journey be blessed with guidance, protection, and strength.